Hey, Chris, woke the baby up, man!
The tires are cold, too. I know. Will I kill? Yep.
It's photobombing everybody. I think
Started in R6 back in like '99. Yeah, Pennsylvania. I got my first seat in 2003, right when the 350s came out. So bought a 350 and never looked back. So been driving ever since.
How did you get on the ride to go pro?
Well, I was one of the very first drifters in the States, out in the Northeast. Myself and a couple other guys were self-taught, kind of playing around in empty lots and screwing around with cars. And eventually, after 2 or 3 years of doing that, we figured out that to get better, we needed to have events. And so we went to Englishtown Raceway Park in New Jersey. And we talked to the owner and was like, we want to put on drift classes. So they're like, yeah, that sounds good. We went and set up a couple cones. It was like, we'll try it out and see how it goes. A bunch of people showed up. We had a great time. And as soon as we went to having track events, that's actually it was the first Northeast drift event and one of the very first in the country. And it's actually the longest running drift organization in the country. And as soon as we had, yeah, no, it's cool. And so once we actually had a track, it started snowballing. Like we were linking corners and getting fine-tuned with the car. The very next year, Formula Drift announced their national drifting championship, and at that point there was no real drift scene. So basically anyone that had driving experience, they were allowed to enter and try to qualify. So I was just there from the very beginning as one of 4 now drivers that have run Formula D since the very beginning. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, it's a ton of fun. So we do burnouts for a living.
Kim Block company.
What's that?
Kim Block company.
No, he was more so from the west side. Kind of grew up in Colorado, California, and kind of various places. And he got into racing late in the scene, going straight into rally. Just because he was always into rally. I like drifting because it's on the street. It's more of an action sport. It's in your face. It kind of comes from I used to ride BMX and skate and stuff like that. So it's kind of like an expression with the car, just like any other action sport versus rally and other racing, which is all about the clock. So with this, it's like come do something fun like this, and that's kind of a taste of what we do for a living. You know what I mean?
So now, do you have to do amateur before you go pro? Do you have to?
Now you do, yeah. Now there's 3 steps to get into it. There's Pro-Am competition, which that's where anyone can enter that can drive a car. And when you move on past Pro-Am, you get into Pro 2, which is a subcategory of Formula Drift, and kind of like nationwide for NASCAR. And then once you get into the top 10 in that field, then you can move into Formula Drift Pro 1.
And it's all qualifying type?
Yeah, it's all based on you have to have podium finishes and finish in standings at the end of the year, and certain ranked drivers will get to move up to the next ladder the following year. Right now, only 40 licensed drivers in the world are allowed to run Formula.
Is it points based or is it
Yeah, it's all
objective
points
judging
based.
based?
Well, it's all it's the judges. They watch each run and they give us a score, and throughout the day, as we do our single runs to qualifying, we get our score and it builds into a ladder, which is the top 32 elimination bracket style. And so each pair will actually do a lead and a chase situation where one driver will lead through the course. So say for instance over here, if you saw us driving over here, one driver will lead through the course and the second driver has to chase as close as possible without hitting or maintaining drift. And you get judged on how well you control that situation. And then you go back to the start and you switch. And so the pair of runs is judged as one battle, and all 4 runs, your lead, your chase, his lead, his chase, are kind of compiled together for who was the better driver. It sounds very technical, but when you watch a pair of guys rip through a course and back, 9 out of 10 people can be like, oh, he did it better, because it's all visual. And you see one guy kind of wiggling around, one guy gets close, bumps him, straightens out, one guy spins out, and that's what kind of gives the advantage for the one driver. And so it's heads-up eliminations all the way to the finals, which is what makes drifting super exciting and unique, because because every time you go up to the line is potentially the last run of the day, unless you put it down. So when you pull it for qualifying, you have to qualify. And when you pull it for tandem, you have to beat that guy next to you, or else you just put it out of the trailer.
All right, so how many cars have you destroyed?
Total 0. Wrecked a lot. But like with drifting, you know, it's not like NASCAR or rally where we go kind of flipping off into a bunch of other cars and trees and woods. You know, we get real close to walls, kind of bang off the wall, you know, get the slap, you know, bring the front end in, break the front suspension off, that type of stuff, hit other cars. You know, we got like battle damage up here from last weekend, you know, bumping up into other cars. It's all pretty cosmetic and very repairable. Like the biggest crashes you'll see is like Irwindale, where we're going about 80 miles an hour into that lower bank. Someone comes in a little too hot. There's no runoff, there's no kitty litter. You just kind of like catch the wall and it swings the front end, smacks it, breaks your front end off. And that's about as bad as it gets. Like a real bad whiplash. You might twist the car up, but it's usually good enough to pull it back straight, add some bracing, and you're good to go. Drifting doesn't really total too many cars, like I said, just based on the nature of it. Yeah. I bet you have. In the past, the courses weren't as forgiving, if you will. It was kind of like, here's where we're running. It's like, that looks dangerous. And like, oh, we're doing it anyway.
That's
so,
not flat.
as the years go by, you know, they know how to, you know, structure the corners, where to place the walls, the tire walls, and everything else, so that you know, we kind of keep the crashes to a minimum. Not to say like big, spectacular body flinging wrecks don't happen often, they do, but 9 out of 10 times the cars are repairable.
How many tires to go through?
Our tires will last for 2 laps in competition.
Two
It
laps?
actually, in qualifying, 1 lap.
I really hope you don't want to start a snowball effect.
Of course. No problem. Thank you.